the new guy Hooshin arrived. To me right now, it does feel a little bit like Jimin is leading Min Gyu on. Definitely we saw Ji Young take a step back from Gyo. She just felt really out of place in that moment, and that's why there was so much tension and awkwardness. Hey, what's up you guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bree with an E, and for today's video, we're going to be continuing my series of reviewing Heart Signal Season 4. Today, we're going to be talking about Episode 3, Min Gyu and Jimin getting closer, the awkward tension created after Jimin and Min Gyu came back from the grocery store alone and Jumi was upstairs, the new guy Hooshin and how he really changed the energy in the house and really kind of shook up everything as expected. We're going to be talking about Trouble in Paradise for Ji Young and Gyeo and how their relationship is looking a little bit rocky after this episode. And lastly, we're going to get into predictions for next week's episode and who I think are going on dates with each other. If you haven't already, you can check out my previous video reviewing episodes 1 and 2 of Heart Signal. Feel free to do so, I'll link it somewhere on the screen. But without that being said, let's just get into the video. Now, it does feel a little bit like Jimin is leading Min Gyu on just a little bit. I feel like the earlier half of this episode focused a lot on the relationship building between Min Gyu and Jimin. We got a lot of Jimin and Min Gyu together. They were going to school and to work together. They were going shopping and going to the market together and doing so much together throughout the episode, which is why I could not understand for the life of me how Jimin still at the end of the night chose Ji-won, who has been missing for the entire episode. Like truly, we only saw that man for like maybe 2 to 3 minutes throughout the entire episode. And I stated in my first video that I felt like Jimin and Min Gyu were easily becoming my favorite couple so far, and I felt that because they had great chemistry and great rapport together. It just felt natural and they looked natural together. So I'm mainly just confused because it seemed like Jimin and Min Gyu were getting along so well. They were teasing each other and becoming so much more comfortable with each other, and at times it especially felt like Jimin was kind of seeking Min Gyu's attention. She was, frequently asking him to take her to class each morning. She even referred to him as her date, like she was being really playful and like cutesy around him. So I felt like, okay, maybe she is, developing some sort of feelings for him. Though at the end of the night, I think what's most telling is she's sending her text to Ji-won, so that must be where her feelings lie, right? I just hope in the next episodes, Jimin can start becoming a little bit more clear with her feelings or clear with her actions and intentions and clearly express to the man that she likes them. But following their little mini date where, Min Gyu picked up Jimin from her university and they went shopping and went to the grocery market, Jumi was kind of alone at the house at this time. She came back and no one was really there. Decided to cook herself some dinner, drink beer alone, which was really sad. I literally hated that for my girl. Here she is upstairs, and it seemed like she was a little bit annoyed, I feel like, when Jimin and Min Gyu came in, especially together. It just felt like, I don't know how to express it, but I would feel awkward in that moment. It feels like I'm intruding on something and I'm not supposed to be here. It just felt awkward in that sense, and so I think she just felt really out of place in that moment, and that's why there was so much tension and awkwardness. I think it was really interesting too in seeing how Min Gyu was reacting to the awkwardness. It felt like he was trying to make it seem like him and Jimin weren't that close in front of Jumi. Jimin, she was just not really reading the room. She was kind of rubbing salt in the open wound for Jumi when she especially said, "I told my friend that I'm waiting for my date." I don't think she was quite aware and cognizant of her actions and what she was actually saying and how she was making Jumi feel. But I'm curious as to why Min Gyu reacted the way he did, why he kind of downplayed it a bit, and why he was reacting awkwardly as well. So maybe he does actually like Jumi a little bit. They did have a little moment when they were washing dishes together, so I really don't know. So now we kind of have the main event of the episode. The new guy Hooshin arrived. Hooshin is a 31-year-old male. He works as an oil painter and also does modeling. So this man, quite a catch if I'm being honest. But opposed to everyone else in the house who kind of has this kind of chipper, easygoing personality and is very easy to talk to and approach, Hooshin is quite the opposite. He just has this very intimidating vibe to him and presence. He's definitely like the dominant male of the group. But what I loved to see was kind of how Jimin and Ji Young were reacting so kind of shy and nervous around him, but Jumi was just kind of being herself. She comfortably offered him something to drink and comfortably stared him in the eye. He was a little bit intrigued by her not feeling awkward around him and not feeling nervous like the other girls. She just wasn't like the other girls in that moment, and so I love that for Jumi. But yeah, I like the new guy so far. I think he definitely switches up the vibe in the house. It went from being a very kind of Teletubby, playful, let's hold hands house to maybe some nervous energy, especially in the girls and especially in the boys. Definitely feel like that with Hooshin in the house, the men I think are going to try a little bit more harder and be a little bit more expressive and intentional with their actions and expressing interest to whatever girl they like. So I think we'll see a lot of more aggressive men in the house, especially following Hooshin's entrance. But so getting into Ji Young and Gyeo, it seems like there's a little bit rockiness in their relationship. We saw Ji Young take a step back from Gyeo, definitely after seeing who she sent her a text to at the end of the night, being Min Gyu, and seeing their moment they had in the kitchen. I definitely think that she wants to talk to Min Gyu more. There's definitely interest there, and similarly Min Gyu wants to talk to Ji Young more. So in the coming episodes we'll see Ji Young take even more steps back from Gyeo. Gyeo, I think, is still going Ji Young strong, and I think will always. He's just that type of guy. There's always the type of guy in these series who are set straight and gung-ho on one woman the entire time. I think that's him this season. But so at the end of this episode, we had Min Gyu, who sent his heart signal to Jimin. That was expected, of course. They spent the entire episode pretty much together and getting to know each other a little bit more. So I definitely think Min Gyu is definitely still interested in Jimin, even though he did express earlier in the episode that he did have a little interest as well in Ji Young and wants to get to talk to her more and get to know her better. That's something definitely to look out for in the coming episodes. We also have Gyeo, who of course sent his heart signal to Ji Young. Gyeo is not moving, like I said. He is going to continue to choose Ji Young, I think, forever. And then we have Jiwon, who sent his heart signal text to Jumi, which Jiwon's heart signal at the end of the night I don't think is completely indicative of where his true feelings are actually lying at the moment. I think because he didn't have so much time in the house this episode, he kind of just went off his previous heart signal, which was Jumi. Do I think that he still is interested in Jumi? Of course, but there's no really telling exactly if that signal, if it's really truly where his feelings are lying at the moment. Next, we have Hooshin, the new guy, who sent his heart signal text to Jumi, which I loved. And then we have for the girls, Jimin, who sent her text to Jiwon. Felt like that she was feeling Min Gyu a little bit, but apparently not. She still chose Jiwon, which is very, very telling. Next, we have Jumi, who chose Min Gyu. And in the previous episode, Jumi actually sent her text to Gyeo, and in this episode, she kind of revealed that she has, interest in both Gyeo and Min Gyu. When she was talking with her friend about, her feelings for Gyeo and her feelings for Min Gyu, she definitely had a lot more to say about Min Gyu and their interactions together. It felt like that was the guy she had the most interest in. And then lastly, we have Ji Young, who sent her heart signal to Min Gyu, which was not super shocking, but still shocking enough. I was very much anticipating her to send it to maybe Hooshin or Gyeo again, but she sent it to Min Gyu, making Min Gyu kind of the most sought after guy in the house right now. He's got 2 heart signal texts sent to him, and Jumi likewise has 2 heart signal texts sent to her. So my favorite girl and favorite boy are on top at the moment in the house. I love that for them. I want to get into my predictions for next week's episode and who I think are going on dates with each other. So for Min Gyu, I think he's either going to go on a date with Ji Young or Jumi. I feel like because we haven't seen a lot of interactions between Jumi and Min Gyu, and because we haven't seen a lot of interactions between Ji Young and Min Gyu, that those are going to be his 2 likely dates for the next episode. And then I think for Hooshin, his possible 2 dates could be either Ji Young or Jumi. And honestly, there's no rhyme or reason to this one. It's just a feeling. I have a feeling. Then next we have Gyeo, and I think for Gyeo, he's kind of a toss-up. For him, I'm thinking either Jumi or Jimin, because he's had the least amount of interactions with these 2 women in the house. I feel like if he were to go on a date with Ji Young, it would be a little boring, in my opinion. Just, I want to see him get to know other women in the house, and maybe he'll find a potential sparking connection that he didn't realize that he could have outside of Ji Young. And then lastly for Jiwon, I'm thinking he's gonna go on a date with Jimin. Just because they've had such little interaction together despite Jimin picking him each time. I just feel like it's only right. That kind of wraps up my review on episode 3. We definitely had a lot to discuss. How did you feel about this episode? Did you have any kind of standout moments that you want to talk about in the comments down below? How do you feel about some of the connections we see blossoming in the house? Who do you personally feel like you want to see go on a date together? How do you feel about the new guy Hooshin? And lastly, let me know your predictions for who you think are going to go on dates with each other next week. But like I said, I'm going to be continuing to review Heart Signal Season 4 on my channel. If you'd be interested in seeing more videos like this as well as more in this series, definitely give it a big thumbs up and make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so that you can be notified every time I post a new review. But that's going to do it for me. I thank you all so very, very much if you made it to this point, and I'll see you next week. Bye!